Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ms. McGuire video lectures. And today we are covering chapter 10, the muscular system. It's actually going to be this chapter or this topic will be divided into several parts. So this is part one video only. And you have 650 muscles. If I spend 1 minute to talk about one muscle, then what? It's 650 minutes. that's too long of the video, right? So the good news is I'm not going to cover 650 muscles, right? So that's good. We'll cover way less, and video will be divided into several parts. So, okay, enjoy and hope you will learn a lot, right? So let's go ahead and begin. Okay, so let's just kind of get the idea how your muscles work. Well, we're talking about skeletal muscles, right? So their function is to move your skeleton. That means they're attached to your bones. So you want to move your bones to produce movement of your body, right? Like if you walk, you're moving your bones. If you picking up stuff, you're moving your bones, right? So that's what you have skeletal muscles for. You do have some skeletal muscles that move your skin instead of bones, and they are located in your face, and we call them muscles of facial expression. So they don't move your bones because you only have one movable bone in your skull, that is a mandible, but you have way more muscles that move your skin and allow you to smile, to frown, to kiss, to close your eyes. You also have muscles that move your tongue, for example. So not all skeletal muscle move your bones, right? Many of them do. Okay, but let's take this example. If you need to move your bone, then you want a muscle that would go across your joint, right? Like this, like bicep brachii muscles. So it actually starts or originates. So this is the origin on your scapula, and it moves along your brachial region, and then it inserts, that's called insertion point, in your radius. So you can see it pretty much goes through two joints, your shoulder joint and your elbow joint over here. So because it's moving across the joint, it's able to move your bone, right? Because what I'm trying to say over here, if you have origin and insertion within the same bone, you cannot move this bone, right? You need joint to move bones, right? Is a flex or extend or adduct or abduct. So, and that's why we will find origin and insertion usually, right, on two different bones. Right, or origin can be on a bone and insertion can be in your skin, or origin can be on a bone and insertion can be your tongue, right? So what is origin? Origin is attached to stabilized bone. So more stable bone, it will be origin, like over here, scapula is origin for biceps brachii, and insertion is movable end of muscles. It's attached to bone being pulled. So you always pull insertion towards origin. Now, hope that makes sense, right? And muscles can only pull, they cannot push. So if one muscle's pull to flex your arm, right, at the elbow joint, right? So the same muscle cannot push. You need another muscle to pull, right? So muscles can only pull. That's why you have what we call antagonistic muscles. So one muscle flex and antagonist will extend, right? Does that make sense? I hope it does. So Anyway, muscles have origins and insertions. They pull insertion towards origin, and that produce movement in your joints. Also, we can classify muscles as a primer movers or agonist, then synergist. This is the one that will assist prime mover, and antagonist, that would be muscles that oppose action of prime mover. So let's take example, bicep brachii. So bicep brachii can flex your elbow joint, right? So bicep brachii is a prime mover, and two muscles, brachialis and brachioradialis, are actually doing the same. They also flex your elbow joint. So they are synergist to bicep brachii. And then, so if you flex, how to extend it? To extend it, you have triceps brachii, and they will be antagonist of your prime mover. Right, so over here, that's everything really explained nicely in this table. So you have agonist bicep brachii, and it's in anterior compartment of the arm. Then you have antagonist tricep brachii in the posterior compartment of the arm. And this table, unfortunately, doesn't include synergists that we just mentioned. So synergist for bicep brachii will be brachioradialis and brachialis. Now, does bicep brachii always need to be agonist and triceps antagonist? I'm not sure about it. You know, I mean, I think you need to compare. Let's say the main muscles that extend, the primer muscles that extend your knee joint is triceps. So then biceps is antagonist to triceps, right? So, you know, but usually what they do, they take like flexion, maybe the prime movement, and then extension, gonna be antagonistic movement. And then, yeah, like if you see agonist is hamstring. So hamstring, they also flex, right? The hamstring flex your knee. Oh, yeah, your knee joint. The hamstring flex the leg at your knee joint. So if it's a flexor, they kind of assign it a role of agonist. And then quadriceps, that is in the anterior compartment, right? This one will extend, right? Extend your knee, your leg at a knee joint. Okay, so let's make it clear again. So if you're talking about flexion and extension, we have muscles that acts in the opposite direction, right? So some muscles flex and some muscles extend. So you take these flexor muscles, like your bicep brachii, like your hamstring group, and you call them agonist. So they flex. And then you find the muscles that extend at the same joint, either it a knee joint or elbow joint, and you call them antagonist. Or you can take muscles that flex and extend your fingers and your wrist, right? So this flexor, like flexor digitorum superficialis, flexor digitorum profundus, this will be muscles that flex, so they agonist. And then in the posterior compartment, you will have extensor digitorum. And extensor digitorum will extend the wrist and fingers, and it will be antagonist. Now, remember in our previous lecture, we talked about organization of skeletal muscles, that skeletal muscle as an organ is made of skeletal muscle cells or muscle fibers. And those muscle cells are organized into fascicles. Now we're looking at fascicle organizations. So fascicles are bundled groups of muscle fibers or muscle cells, and their arrangement is correlated to a force. And also arrangement affects range and motion. So that means if you wanna have force in one direction, or you wanna force in several directions, like, you know, maybe if you flex your elbow, you know, maybe you want to just kind of like in one range of motion. But for example, if you rotate your neck or you elevate, you know, your scapula, kind of you want a range of motion. And so how to achieve this ability to move your bones in kind of different directions, this is what this organization of fascicles help you to do. So let's look at it and see how the organization of fascicles related to the pattern of movement and contraction. So fascicles can be organized in a parallel pattern. So fascicles arrange in the same direction as long axis of a muscle. So example of parallel muscle would be your bicep brachii, right? Or sartorius muscle over here, right? And then when this fascicles run parallel to the main axis, right? Sometimes they fuse, like over here, they kind of run parallel and then they fuse. And this is called parallel fusiform. Or they might be parallel not fusiform. So they just parallel, but they do not fuse at the insertion point, right? Where tendon is. Or like bicep brachii, it's actually fused in the origin, right? So this is the origin tendon that attaches to origin. This is a tendon that attaches to insertion. And you see how it's fused on both ends, forming a belly of muscle. But fascicles are still parallel, right? So let's just kind of say that fascicle can be arranged in a parallel pattern, and it's the most common really for muscles in your body. And fascicle runs parallel to a long axis. Sometimes they form muscle belly, and then we call it fusiform. Another type of organization is pinnate. That means feather-like. So it can blend into a tendon, and then it can pull at angle, right? That's what we want. So if you want to pull at angle, then pinnate muscles would be the best. So we can have unipinnate over here, right? So this is extensor digitorum, for example. And unipinnate, when we have a tendon, right, and muscles kind of like, fascicles. No, fascicles are made of muscle fibers. They on one side of the tendon. So here's a tendon, right? And those are our fascicles. Or it can be bipinnate, like rectus femoris, right? So here's the tendon and here's the fascicle on both sides. See, it does look like feather, right? Feather. Or it can be multipinnate, like a deltoid, right? So here's your tendon and you have like, you know, this fascicles coming from all directions, and that allow you to pull at angle, yeah, instead of just simple straight flexion. So unipinnate fascicles on one side, so it's right there. This is unipinnate. Bipinnate fascicle on both sides of tendon, that's a bipinnate. And multipinnate muscles fiber wrap around the tendon. So right here, multipinnate. An example would be deltoid. Muscles can be circular. Circular, for example, orbicularis oculi or orbicularis oris, shown over here, or some sphincters. And if muscle fascicles are circular, right? So you can, you can predict what kind of movement this muscle can produce, right? So it's in the sphincters, because what is a sphincter? Sphincter is, some structures that close the opening, right? That's what a sphincter is. So for example, you have your external anal sphincter, and this will be circular muscles as well. So when they relax, they increase size of opening. When they contract, they decrease size of opening. And the same with your mouth, right? So you can either contract or relax these muscles. Convergent muscles, fascicles come to single attachment, and that would be the example of your pectoralis major, for example, right? Muscles right over there. So they all converge at the same point. So convergent muscles might kind of remind you this multipinnate, but multipinnate, they wrap around the tendon, and convergence, they just converge in one, point. Okay, now you have, I already told you, 650 muscles. That's too many to memorize. So first of all, why do we have so many muscles? Because we need to produce huge range of movement. Think about you moving your every finger, you're moving pretty much, every part of your body or many parts of your body. And that's why we have that many muscles. And they organized in layers. We have superficial muscles, we have deep muscles, we have intermediate muscles. So really, muscular system is amazing. It's unique to animal kingdom, muscular and nervous system, right? So we're lucky to have it. And our characteristic in a, on a tree of life, we are capable of movement, external movement, that really make our life very, very, very convenient. So let's just look at basic muscles. Like if you have a mannequin, you pretty much can see superficial muscles, maybe some deep muscles. Usually what they have, one side of mannequin are superficial, another are deep. It doesn't show you every single muscle in detail, but show you enough. So over here, for example, we have frontalis muscle. So right now we're only talking about location pretty much. We're not covering origin, insertion, or action, that we will in the next videos. And again, we're not gonna cover every single muscle because this is kind of introductory class. There is no way we can remember origin, insertion, action, innervation of every single muscle in the body. But we want to give you just introduction. Where are they located? What are their names, right? So let's just look at location and name. So frontalis, right here, right where your forehead is. Orbicularis oculi, around your eye. Zygomaticus, where you have your zygomatic arch on your face. Orbicularis oris, around your mouth. Buccinator, this is the muscle of your cheek. Temporalis, muscle in your temporal area. Mentalis, that's the muscle in your chin. Then trapezius, this is a posterior muscle of the back. Deltoid muscle. this triangular muscle, you know, in your upper brachial region. Then we have pectoralis major or pectoral muscle here. Now, you have sternocleidomastoid muscle in your neck, in the cervical region. That is a major muscle that flex and rotates your head. Then let's just look at the right side of the mannequin to begin with. You have bicep brachii, anterior compartment of your brachial, in the brachial region. Then you have pronator teres, pronates, and pronation means it pronates your hand, so where your palm faces kind of up. That's what pronation is. Oh, I'm sorry, down. This is supination. And you will have muscles that supinate. So pronation, it's you faces your palm down. That's a pronation. Right? I don't know if you guys see me or not. I'm trying to here. So this is supination and this is pronation. Okay, then we have brachioradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, flexor carpi radialis, and you know, we will cover all these muscles in details, and I will try to help you to understand their action and location and how you can find them on a mannequin, right? So it's all coming up. Then deep to pectoralis muscle, we have serratus anterior. Between the ribs, we have intercostalis, we have external and internal. Then in abdominal region, you have rectus abdominis. On the lateral side of your abdominal region, you have external oblique. Then you will have internal oblique, transversus abdominis. You have flexor fascia lata, that is in your coxal region. Now we have sartorius, anterior part of your thigh, rectus femoris, also anterior compartment of the thigh. In the medial compartment, you have adductor group, it's 3 muscles, gracilis, also in the medial compartment of the thigh. Like if you're looking at a posterior view, we have occipitalis, we have splenius group, splenius capitis and splenius cervicus, you have levator scapular muscle. But over here, let's again look at the right side because those are more superficial. You have big trapezius muscle over here. So you see deltoid again. Then you have infraspinatus, you have teres major and minor or teres group. You have latissimus dorsi, tricep brachii muscle. Now, deeper muscle will include rhomboid group, rhomboidus major, rhomboidus minor. So here you see a little bit of serratus anterior, that is an anterior part of your body, anterior compartment. But you can see serratus posterior over here, serratus posterior inferior. It's also show you a little part of the external intercostalis muscles and piece of gluteus maximus. Okay, so now we're moving down, right? And we have what's shown here, external abdominal oblique, tensor fascia latae, rectus femoris. On both sides of rectus femoris, you have vastus. On the lateral side, vastus lateralis or vastus medialis on the medial side. This muscle that kind of crosses your thigh is called sartorius. Gracilis is a muscle in the medial compartment of your thigh. And then we have adductor group that adduct, so bring your hip to the midline of your body, right? And then we have, let's say, tibialis anterior, So it will be on the lateral side of your tibia. We have soleus. Soleus is in the posterior part and posterior compartment. So it's the back of your leg. And then superficial to soleus, we have gastrocnemius. On the lateral side, we have fibularis or peroneus. I like fibularis because that's where your fibula bone is, fibularis longus and brevis. And we have muscles that move your toes, right? Like extensor digitorum or abductor hallucis muscle. Abduct your big toe. All right, so what is in the posterior compartment over here? Posterior view, right? So we still see some of the muscle of the back, like latissimus dorsi, serratus posterior, intercostalis. We see a little bit of tricep brachii, that's the muscle in your brachial region. So you see this gluteus maximus, then tensor fascia latae. We do have this muscles that we call hamstring group that is made of bicep femoris on the lateral side, semitendinosus on the medial side, and just underneath of semitendinosus, there is semimembranosus. That's the three muscles of the hamstring group. You see a little bit of sartorius that cross your thigh. Now you see gracilis over here in the medial compartment. Yeah, here it shows you semimembranosus, and on top of semimembranosus you have semitendinosus. This is gastrocnemius muscle. It's in the posterior part of your leg, most superficial muscle, and just under this muscle is our soleus, right? So again, don't get like, what is going on over here? Is this all the muscles and how am I supposed to memorize them? Remember, right now it's just introduction, and then we will go to specific region of your body, like we go to your neck, and we will talk about that muscle. Then we go to your arm, and we'll talk about this muscle. Then we go to your forearm. Then we go to your thigh, go to your leg, right? We will cover these muscles in more details, right? Right now it's kind of basic. Oh my goodness, so many muscles. What do they do? Why do I need them, right? So it will make sense, but it takes time. So little by little. So remember, just overview. Okay. Okay, so maybe I even stop this recording for now, right? So let's just very quick recall what we covered so far. So we talk about origin and insertion, right? And I hope I made it semi-clear, right? We talk about agonist, synergist, antagonist, about fascicle organization, how this different pattern of muscle arrangement help you to produce different movement, pull in one direction, pull in different directions, so on. And then we just briefly looked at etymology of muscles. So where they're located, and we mentioned that muscles can be superficial, right? Deep, intermediate, and function of muscle is contraction, generation of force, and movement. You're gonna move your bones, you're gonna move your skin, you're gonna move your tongue, or you're gonna contract your muscles and constrict some opening, right? Like in your external sphincters, for example. So that's then you use your skeletal muscles, right? So in the next video we will talk. Oh no, you know what? I don't think we're done here. Oh yeah, okay. So I think we're gonna get to this point. I was a little bit confused, but it's good. We did some review, right? When we start talking about specific muscle, like muscle of facial expression, this is still just overview, right? So because there is no insertion or action. So let's continue. Another 10 minutes, I promise. So now you look at head and neck muscles. Some of them we already cover, right? Like frontalis, orbicularis oculi, temporalis. Then we have zygomaticus, all right, a major and minor. You have a masseter, you have mentalis muscle right here, right there. You know, this is your mentalis. Okay. So this is your, is this, no, that's not mentalis. Is it? Oh, this is depressor labia. So that depresses your lip. And no, depressor, this is not mentalis. Okay, so that's not mentalis. Your mentalis muscle is pretty much right here. That would be your mentalis muscle. I don't think that's your, it's, you know, no, I think it's depressor angular oris because you have like, yeah, like this one. You see, that's your depressor angular oris, and this is your mentalis right there. That's a mentalis. What else we have here? We have trapezius, we have sternocleidomastoid, that is this muscle over here. We have some scalene muscle, cannot see them very well over here, so it will be a different diagram. Now here we have what zygomaticus, vaccinator, masseter, we have depressor angular oris, right? This muscle right there. So I need to take a close look to this diagram. We will discuss it in the class. Because you do have depressor labii that depresses your lower lip, and you have depressor angular oris that depresses just the corners of your lips. And what your mentalis does, mentalis is actually elevates your chin, so it goes up, right? That's why, you know, very highly professional, highly trained people who do Botox injections, they can do injection in your mentalis muscle, and it's kind of will elevate your chin and in a depressor angular oris, and it will lift your corners of your mouth, so you look like young and pretty. But because we have so many other muscles here that depresses your lips and corners of your lips, and you know, it's very dangerous zone, I would say, right? But this is interesting muscles on them in your mental region. Okay, so here we see the model of the arm. So you see deltoid muscle in the anterior compartment, bicep brachii, in the posterior tricep brachii. Then you have brachioradialis muscle over here. Now where you have your scapula, underneath your scapula, you have subscapularis muscle, and again, a little bit of deltoid muscle here, coracobrachialis and brachialis muscles that we will cover in details, and lots of here flexors in the anterior compartment and extensors in your posterior compartment. Now, when you look at your thigh and the leg, you can see kind of this is the medial side, right? And here's our sartorius, here our gracilis, right? And gastrocnemius, soleus over here. And this is lateral leg, where we have gluteus maximus, tensor fascia latae, we have quadriceps group, we have hamstring group. Right now you just see biceps femoris, we have tibialis anterior, we have peroneus or fibularis longus, gastrocnemius, extensor digitorum longus over here as well, right? So again, we cover many of them in in this picture over here, right? So now it's kind of like a better view. Okay, so kind of the last part, right, before we get to regional view of the muscles, as I told you, we're gonna look what all those names mean, right? Why they name it so difficultly, so difficult to remember for us, right? You see here, they even have translation. So we need to translate those names to English to understand, right? So, so we take some Latin roots, like ab means away from, like abductor. You know, when child is abducted, that means somebody took it away, right? So ab means away and duct to move. So you move away, abduction. Or digiti, that means finger or toe, all right? And if you have muscles like a flexor digitorum, that means it's gonna flex your fingers. Minimi refer to the size of the muscle, so it's a small muscle, tiny muscle, right? So now they put everything together and give you a muscle name: abductor digiti minimi. So that means it's gonna take away your small digit, right? And it's a small muscle, so it's gonna abduct. I mean, it's not a small muscle, sorry. It's gonna abduct your small digit, because it's not gonna be adductor pollicis, for example. That's a bad example. Abductor or abductor pollicis longus. It's gonna abduct your pollex. This one gonna abduct your small or little finger, right? A muscle that moves the little finger or toe away, abductor digiti minimi. Adductor digiti minimi means bring it towards your midline. It's adding it. So that gonna, this muscle means muscle that moves the little finger or toe towards the midline of your body, right? So you see how these names, they have meaning. Abductor, abducts. Adductor brings it towards the midline. And what they moving? They moving your small digit, digiti minimi. Then you have like lots of these prefixes and roots, right? I don't know, I never myself kind of, when I study muscle, I memorize the meaning. I don't think you should memorize this table separately from the muscle. So learn the muscle and that will make sense. But you can refer back to this mnemonic device for Latin roots every time, like let's say if you, what this means, what bi or die means, it's two, uni, it's one, right? So you can refer to it, but don't really need to memorize it. Just memorize the name of the muscle and make sense what this name means. And we can name muscles based on different characteristics. Let's say location on your body, frontalis, right, in front, occipitalis, on the back, or rectus abdominis, in the abdominal region, or brachialis, in the brachial region. We can name muscle based on their muscle size, like gluteus maximus, that's a big muscle, right? Or gluteus medius, that's a medium size. Gluteus minimus, smallest muscle of this group. We can name muscle based on the muscle lengths, like brevis or longus, like let's say extensor carpi radialis longus. This whole name tells you extensor, it's gonna extend. Carpi, it's gonna extend carpal bones. It's a radialis, so it's on the radial side of your forearm, and it's a long, it has a long tendon, so it's a longus. So when we discuss specific muscle, I will mention what this name means, right? And this is how we will try to remember it. Also, we can name muscle based on position relative to midline, lateralis, medialis, intermedius, right? Direction of fibers can be used in the name. Rectus means straight, oblique, under angle, fibers or fascicles. A number of muscles origins, or a number of muscles in a group, because we might have one muscle, biceps brachii. Biceps brachii means it has by two, and seps mean heads, two heads, so two origins, biceps. Or we can have the whole group of muscles, like quadriceps. That means we have 4 muscles in a group. We can name muscle based on muscle attachment. Sternocleidomastoid. Sternocleido, that means the origin is at a sternum, at the clavicle, and then it inserts in a mastoid process of temporal bone, right? So that's this muscle, sternocleidomastoid. And we can use actions, flexor digitorum longus, extensor digiti minimi, or abductor longus, adductor, right? So, and then we can combine everything together, right? Like a flexor, let's do this first. Flexor carpi ulnaris. I already gave you flexor carpi radialis. Now it's flexor carpi ulnaris. So you know it's the muscles that are gonna flex your wrist, because this is where your carpal bones are. And it will be on the ulnar side. So it's going to be on the medial side of your forearm. Or even flexor digitorum profundus, or flexor digitorum superficialis, right? Flexor digitorum superficialis. So that's the muscles that are going to flex. Flex what? Your digits, flexor digitorum. And superficialis means it's going to be pretty superficial muscles. So we expect to find some muscles deep to it, right? So again, just right now, many of these names doesn't make sense. That's why I like to learn muscles by regions. So let's start with arm and concentrate on arm, right? And then we will talk about names and what they mean. Right, so that's now the end of this lecture, because after that we will go to different regions, and I expect way more videos to be recorded, because we need to cover so much, right? Okay, but anyways, thank you for watching, right? This was video lecture about the muscular system, part 1, and I hope it was helpful.